This review is brought to you by Die Macher, the classic reprint of the classic game. Find out more at spielworks.de. From the kitchen of the cabin, it's the 5 Games for Doomsday review. No thanks. Philosophy is a load of old guff, isn't it? In the face of having to work to feed yourself and your family, those twinges in your knee, and the fact that no matter how much you do it, getting up in the morning is still horrendous, the minute dissection of what it is to be authentic seems gratuitously arcane and self-indulgent. Philosophy smacks of tweed and pipes and dusty people with far too much time on their hands, inventing axioms just to keep themselves in a job. Until, that is, you realise that philosophy is so ingrained in us that it is a natural state for human beings, a congenital compulsion. Sure, you may not use the endless sentence, spiralling out of control with clause after subclause after subclause, but every time you ask why, every time you speculate on the meaning of a person's actions or lament the arbitrary cruelty of the world, you're engaging in philosophy. The development of our brain and the knowledge of our own demise has conferred the gift of philosophy on us whether we like it or not, and you don't need a string of letters after your name or the command of obscure nomenclature to call yourself a philosopher, because we all are. Plato had the notion of ideals. He believed that this imperfect globe with all of its limbic systems and jittery tectonic plates was a corrupted echo of an ideal world, a perfect world, a world where there was no one who thought that coriander tasted like soap, a world where thought was pure and uncluttered, and a world where Liverpool won the league every year. In short, a just world. As a result of this, he thought that for everything that existed on this world, there was an ideal form that existed on that other, perfect world. The ideal chair, the ideal word, and the ideal person. Of course, that means there would be an ideal game. A game that encompassed the very quintessence of what a good game was. This ideal game would engage all who played it. It would provide depth and decision from ideal simplicity and would last the ideal amount of time. Taking these things into account, No Thanks from Thomas Gimler is probably the closest thing we have to the platonic ideal of a game on this paltry marble of ours. An interesting side note is that one of the leading proponents of the flat earth model is called Darrell Marble. Sometimes fate deals out little parcels of perfection. In No Thanks, a card is flipped onto the table and players have the option of whether to take the card for points are bad, or play a chip on it to defer the decision to the next player. If the player has no chips in their hand, they have to take the card and any chips that are on it. At the end of the game, the players subtract the number of chips they have in their hand from the value of the cards they've taken, and the person with the lowest total wins. On the face of it, No Thanks is almost unforgivably simple. You take a card or place a chip. But from that, a whole root network of decision, anxiety, and hilarity grows. This is a game that fulfills every criteria that there is for a good game. It keeps everyone around the table engaged at all times, it creates decisions that are painfully difficult, it takes the minimum amount of rules possible to make the game work at an optimum level. No Thanks is a game that can be played by gamers of any experience level and can always be enjoyed. I've never seen this game fail. I've never failed to be thoroughly immersed in this game for every second of the 15 minutes it takes to play. This is a game that delivers the perfect experience for the type of game it is. This should be the goal of every game, that its rules complexity perfectly serves the type of game that it is, that its play length perfectly serves the type of game that it is, the kind of player interaction it promotes perfectly serves the type of game that it is. And No Thanks is ideal in every one of these aspects. No Thanks is utterly unapologetic in its simplicity and fully realised in the experience it delivers. The game design is as rigorous and polished as any design I've ever played. It feels like a thesis on the essence of what a game is, while being every inch a raucous, compulsively playable joy. No thanks manages to be the philosophical ideal of a game while having no desire to be so. It aspires to be exactly what it is, and in that, it is ideal. Thank you for listening, and you can support this show by going to patreon.com/5G4D.